Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's jump straight into how to manage and reduce hunger, because if you're on a fat loss journey, that means that you have to eat a little bit less than what your body needs. And that often translates into fighting the almost sometimes daily hunger. But if you want to lose fat, you have to win that battle. So today I'm giving you all my best tips on how to do that. Also, for those who don't know me, hi, my name is Flo. I'm a certified personal trainer. I lost 35 plus pounds within 180 days without starving myself, without saying goodbye to my favorite food, without spending hours every day working out or cooking, and obviously without gaining the weight back. We are in 2024, I lost the weight in 2021. Now that this is out of the way, let's get straight into it, and we are going to start with something that may piss people off, but at the end of the day, if you are in deficit, which you have to be in order to lose weight, like this is mandatory, right? If you are in a deficit, you will feel hunger at some point. It's better to be prepared for I might get hungry than just be surprised by the hunger and like, oh my God, what do I do? But if you actually prepare, know how to manage it and know how to reduce it, you should be good. There are ways to reduce it, but also to push through it when it happens. First, let's do a quick science lesson on what is hunger, why is it happening, and so on. As human, we need food to survive, right? Our body relies on food and translates it into energy to do everything it has to do to maintain us alive. Food equals energy equals life. That's the equation in our body, and that's the only thing that actually matters. When you eat, you give your body the energy it needs to do its job. So you know it's a pretty well-rounded scenario. So when the blood sugar goes down because your stomach's empty and the energy is low, which triggers ghrelin, the hunger hormone that is secreted in the GI tract. So it will send a direct message to your brain: hello, we're hungry, please give us food. And that's where hunger comes from. Now, this is physiological hunger. You also have the emotional hunger and kind of psychological hunger, when you don't need to eat at a body like physiological level, but you feel like eating, for example, when you're bored. So you have to be mindful of that first and ask yourself, do I really need to eat, or is it my brain playing trick? If you find yourself in the binge eating category, first of all, I can totally relate. Second of all, I made an entire video on that, so you can refer to it if you want and see how to fight that, because this is a completely different topic that I will not be getting into in this video. Okay, now let's jump straight into how to manage your hunger better, in the sense of how to reduce the possibility of being hungry as much as possible. So this is where we're going to start. Nutrition is always going to be our starting point. It does so much. What you put inside your body is so key. So we're gonna start there. For example, I can bet that you would be able to eat the entire box of donut and still feel hungry right after, but if I was giving you the same amount of watermelon, for example, it would be a little bit harder for you to actually finish it all. You kind of get the point where nutrition plays a huge role here. Let's start with the obvious, which is the calorie deficit in itself. You don't want to be at a bigger deficit than 10 to 15%. It's the sweet spot that allowed me to have this amazing transformation, still lose 35 pounds within 6 months. I wasn't starving myself, so I wasn't that hungry. Like, this is the first step. If you don't want to feel that hungry, reduce the deficit. It maximizes fat loss, minimizes cravings, the likelihood of a binge and hunger, and you have more energy and you don't feel miserable on the journey. What more could you ask? So stop with the 1200 calories per day and switch to a more sustainable deficit. Second thing about nutrition, focus on volume. Okay? When we say you've got to eat more if you want to lose weight, what we mean is, just with the example of the watermelon and the donuts, like this is exactly what I mean. But my point is, if you fill your plate with veggies and fruits, that will create a beautiful, colorful, full of nutrient plate. That's kind of difficult one to say. That will actually satisfy you faster, because that's basically what fibers do. Also helps with digestion, and the fact that fruits and veggies are often higher in water also prevents you from overeating. And hydrate you at the same time. Like, again, what more could you ask? The only exception to this rule being smoothie. And I'm not saying don't drink your calories, because I have smoothie every day and I do add milk and sugar sometimes to my coffee. Don't do it every day, but sometimes it's a treat. Take your coffee however you want, first of all. And the only reason why I'm saying smoothie is an exception is because while it has a lot of fruits and sometimes veggies, that's how I get my veggies in for sure, it doesn't fill me up as well as when I actually eat the physical fruits. Like, I actually have to bite and chew and everything. And the reason behind that is very simple, is the blender does the job for me. So it converts faster into glucose and basically really prevents me from actually feeling full for longer. Still talking about food, let's talk proteins. The amount of clients who've told me, now that you've increased my protein intake, I'm just not as hungry as I used to be. And the very reason behind that is because your body doesn't have a button for please eat more protein. It just has a button for eat more food. So most of the times when you feel hungry, it's basically because your body is asking you for more protein, because that's a macros that we definitely need. We can't really have on demand like that. Like, you have to eat protein daily. My point is, your body is going to ask for protein and not necessarily ask for carbs or fat. So if it says please eat, you're going to feel hungrier, and it's most likely for protein. Until you have had enough protein throughout that day, you are going to feel hungry. And if you fill up on anything but protein, most likely the processed sugary food are not protein friendly. You will still feel hungry because you didn't get that protein in that your body desperately needs. And it also happens to be a very filling macro, and you also will feel fuller for longer. Like, protein, just go to, and 1.2 to 1.8 grams of protein per kilo of body weight is the sweet spot. If you are far from that, just like I say to all my clients, go by stages. Start with, if you're far from like 1.8, start with 1.2, and then once it's comfortable, 1.3, 4, 5, and so on. But don't go from like 1 gram to 1.8, because your digestive tract is not gonna like that. I think this is the last thing about food for today, but I recommend eating healthier and less processed food. Avoiding processed food, highly processed food, is going to help you reduce the hunger, because my point with that is basically the processed food are made with the idea that you need to want more of them, because if you buy more of them, they make more money. So usually the processed food that you eat is going to have like a lot of sugar to create the crash that will make you go back for more, and also doesn't leave you feeling satisfied, hence why you could go for more and you could eat an entire box of donut and still feel hungry. Obviously, I'm not saying cut out all processed food. I still eat my bread every day. I definitely do have processed food on a weekly basis, probably on a daily if I was really honest with you. But I am aware that this is not filling me up, and I follow this 75-25 rule, sometimes 80-20, it depends, but that means that 75% of the time it's whole food that I'm getting. 25 fun food, whatever I'm craving. We are all about sustainability here, but you really have to be mindful and know when you are eating the processed food that it's not going to give you anything great for your body. It may give you temporarily and quick satisfaction, and you know, that quick sugar hit, and no long-term benefits as whole food does, especially on a fat loss journey. Overall, you know, small quantity, fine. If you can avoid it, even better. Don't make it an obsession though, but just be aware of that. You are warned, but you do you. I think we've talked enough about food. Let's briefly talk about drink enough water. Have a bottle of water next to you and try to drink at least 2 liters per day, especially if you work out as well. But it definitely keeps you full, and we all have that idea that, you know, sometimes you feel hungry but you're really feeling thirsty because it's the same-ish signals in your body. It's not completely false. Sometimes it can be. Most of the time it is actually true that if you don't drink enough, you will have the same physiological signals in your body going on. But it does fill your stomach and is great to actually prevent hunger from actually happening. Also, while coffee actually is really helpful in making you feel full. It is not counting in your daily water intake. It is a diuretic. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. Basically dehydrate you. So good for filling your belly, bad for hydration. So it's a sweet spot to find. I like to have a couple cups, maybe 3 sometimes every day. So you know that's not a big deal. And this is actually the size of the cup. So it's not a big deal. Also, I don't know if you heard that, but I do like sparkling water. It's actually really helpful because the air, like the bubbles, fill your stomach a little bit more. So when I'm feeling hungry, this is like kind of what I tend to go for. Like actually, this is the water bottle, this is the sparkling bottle. Each are about 1 liter, and basically I try to like drink both in the same day. And that's really helpful. Actually, I did forget to mention a specific thing about food, which is meal timing. Really wanted to talk about that because I don't know if you've noticed, but if you are someone who eats pretty regularly, like at the same time, like every day you eat at 7:30, within more or less than 20 minutes window, you will feel hungry like a few minutes before that time hits. That's a physiological thing, so it's not like, tell me if that's the case for you. It should be the case for you if you eat at regular time. So what that means is that your body knows, and it has that internal clock and will activate ghrelin, so the hunger hormone, right? It will activate it around that time, a little bit beforehand, just to prepare you and make sure you don't forget, hey, it's time to eat. Remember, we used to eat at that time, so this is why you feel hungry at specific times. Now, the thing is, if you are, for example, trying to consider intermittent fasting to really reduce your feeding window, which can definitely work for some people, the thing is, it's going to be tough at the specific times you're meant to eat. For example, if you're used to eat at 7:30 every day and you decide, okay, no, I want to skip breakfast today, you are going to feel hungry between like 7:30 until maybe 8 a.m. because that's the time you're usually eating, prepping food, and so on. However, I found that once that time has passed, you don't feel as hungry, and it will come back again at noon, or if you're used to have a mid-morning snack, it will come back at that time, basically again saying, hey, that's the time we're usually eating. Should we have something? Can we have something? Let's produce the ghrelin hormone and tell you, don't forget to eat. If you are into intermittent fasting, or maybe you want to skip a few snacks that you've been having regularly and you feel like you could stop eating them, the thing is to slowly push the time by 30 to 60 minutes max. I would say 45 minutes is going to be the sweet spot. So if, for example, let's say you want to get into intermittent fasting, the easiest way to do that is going to be, let's say you eat at 7:30 every day, push it the next day to 8:15, and then the next day to 9, and then to 9:45. And I get that it may not be convenient to push it that way. Some people do it cold turkey and just stop doing it, but I'm saying it could be easier for you, for your body, and the entire process that is going to happen when you don't get the food that you're supposed to have at the time you used to have it. If you push it by 45 minutes, it could feel more manageable for your body. So it will take a few days, but I'm just sharing with you how to make the transition a little bit easier. I'm going to give you a little trick on how to manage your hunger. It sounds like magic because it works weirdly well. Basically, to avoid feeling hungry, you want to avoid having a glucose spike. As I was telling you, when you eat, you have a glucose spike, getting energy, so it's all natural, right? You cannot really avoid a glucose increase, like a blood sugar increase, but you can avoid a spike. Okay, so what you want to do is find ways to avoid it. I'm going to make a separate video if that's something you're interested in. Let me know in the comments on how to avoid having that big sugar spike. If you eat carbs, it will create a spike, spikier than any other food. I know that's not the right word. Fight me, I don't care. So when you eat food, blood glucose goes up, and then as it gets digested and used by the body, it goes down, and that creates kind of that cycle throughout the day. It's normal. However, the less spike there is, it's harder to deal with that than with that. Okay, so what you want to do is have as stable an energy and as stable a blood glucose as possible. Okay, hopefully I've explained the science. Now I can get into the trick. One of the two actually tricks that I've found are so impactful on my blood sugar and on the cravings that we'll have and on the hunger that will go throughout the day is, first of all, starting my day with a savory breakfast. I really like avocado toast with eggs, salmon, avocado, and whole grain muffins. It's my favorite breakfast. You see it all the time on socials because I keep posting about it. But actually, avoiding to start with a sweet breakfast will actually lower the spike and prevent it from being too high rather. So that's already a good start. But on top of that, I like to drink right before breakfast. You don't really want to take it too ahead of time before breakfast because it kind of like doesn't work. I drink it right before I start prepping my avocado toast. I drink a glass of water with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And actually having that acidic drink helps, and I should find the science. I'll try to find the research on that and add it here. If not, trust me. So starting your day with that acidic drink really helps reducing the spike. And if you have that spike in check, if you have a smaller increase of blood glucose for breakfast, it's basically you're winning the day because you are not going to have that roller coaster of cravings and hunger and all of that. I sometimes do it twice per day when I know I'm going to have a carb heavy lunch. I also do it at lunch, and it's a complete game changer. It has been so helpful. The combo of savory breakfast plus this apple cider vinegar, I don't want to call it shot because it's a proper 200-300 milliliter in French. I don't know what's the English word for that. Milliliters of water plus that tablespoon has changed my hunger levels and the blood sugar, glucose spike, everything. So really give it a go and trust me on that one. This is one of the biggest tips that I share with my clients, and once we implement that, game changer. Getting enough sleep. I know. However, when you're sleep deprived, what happens? I keep saying it. First of all, you're really a pain in the ass that day. Second of all, you don't feel like working out or really don't push yourself that hard and it's not a great workout. Third of all, you're hungry as fuck. You're going to be hungrier, and not for the healthy food, for the highly sugary processed treats, okay? That's normal because your body didn't get the energy needed through sleep. It's going to ask you to get same energy through something else, and in that case it's going to be through carbs because carbs give your body a lot of energy, like that quick hit of sugar. When you are sleep deprived, and that means getting less than 7 hours or 7.5 hours of sleep, or at least quality sleep, because there is also nuance with that. But what happens is your body is going to increase ghrelin hormone production in the GI tract and reduce leptin, so the fullness hormone. That way you will feel hungrier. Basically, it's going to, I can't find the English word today. Basically controlling you on the little PlayStation thing. I don't know what's the word. To get the energy that it needs. Get enough sleep. A recent study, I think, said that we actually as women need about 9 hours. And that's actually great because I've kept saying that I mostly sleep for 9 hours. And like I thought I actually needed more than most people. Turns out I'm just a woman. So, you know, it all makes sense. Like I feel underslept, if that's even a word, when I'm below that. That's a trick you may already be using, but chewing gum, and I hate that. Like, if you know me, you know I hate people who chew gum in my presence. I absolutely hate the chewing noise. Like, I can't. However, the only exception I made is for the fat loss journey, because chewing, if it's non-sugar, like if it's a 0 sugar gum, by the way, otherwise it's not going to work because it's going to like have that sugar and create a little bit of spike, and, you know, not going to be as helpful in the prevention of hunger, craving, and so on. So chewing gum, and, you know, the act of chewing and mastication and having something in your mouth really helps. And also having that minty taste, like, you know, the after you've brushed your teeth thing, really prevents you from actually wanting food because you're chewing gum. So you are eating food, and like at least psychologically you are eating food, right? And you also have that mint taste that is associated with I've just brushed my teeth, therefore I've just eaten. So it works for me, give it a go. It's not when I'm around because I hate that. Do you know why you eat more during the winter than in the summer? Sunlight and the ultraviolet light have an importance and an influence on your hunger. So getting enough sunlight is going to be helpful in controlling your hunger. We're getting towards the brighter, better days, so I guess it's not going to be an issue anymore. But trying to get that sunlight every day, maybe go for a 30-minute walk on a daily basis, especially when you wake up, but getting sunlight throughout the day is actually best. Point is, the sun controls our appetite. So that's the way you can actually help yourself not feeling too hungry, is just by getting more sunlight. Don't think about food. And I know it's really, really difficult, because if I say don't think about food, you're going to think about your favorite treat, and that makes sense. However, when you do that, you're going to be activating a whole cocktail of please eat food and salivating and, you know, all of that. So you want to prevent yourself from thinking about food. And the best way to do that is basically to distract yourself and keep yourself busy. Because who hasn't eaten out of boredom? Definitely do, right? That's emotional eating, as we mentioned in the intro. The point I'm making here is also make sure to keep yourself busy, because if you're not thinking about food, you are reducing your chances of actually feeling hunger. So now let's talk about what to do if I feel hungry, because we've mentioned a lot of how to manage hunger, reduce hunger, prevent it from happening, but sometimes you will feel hungry nonetheless. Here is what to do. First of all, I would say the first thing to do is drink some water and figure out if that's what it was, because sometimes it is. Then chewing gum helps. Chewing gum is really helpful, especially if you've planned your calories for the day, for example, and you know you're feeling hungry a little bit before lunch, but you don't want to eat too early, stuff like that. Makes sense. Chewing gum, really helpful. Drinking coffee and tea with cinnamon. Like, cinnamon is really helpful in reducing your hunger as well. I'm going a bit faster because I don't want you to feel hungry. I just want you to manage the likelihood of being hungry. But at the end of the day, if you feel hungry, eat. Like, I've been giving you all the ways on how to reduce the hunger and how to reduce, like, you know, feeling hungry and the likelihood of craving a lot of food, right? And craving sugary food and stuff that are not part of your plan. So I really want you to reach your goals, but I also don't want you to be starving. So if you are within the 10 to 15% deficit, you shouldn't be feeling that hungry often. I did feel hungry after a workout, for example. So what I would do is I would eat, because I would plan. For example, I learned to figure out how my body was working and when it was asking for food. So I felt that in the morning, not so hungry, I could push breakfast a little bit after like the 10 a.m. mark, like 9:30, 10 a.m. and I wake up at 7. So that means that the morning snack, gone, don't need it anymore. You know, you can always move your calories if you've been tracking, just to have a little bit of food now, have a snack, and you know, high protein, high fiber snacks to do the trick, and then, you know, maybe have a lighter dinner or lighter lunch to stay within the calories, right? That's definitely what I would recommend. My point is, I don't want you to go hungry for long. Like, it's okay to feel hungry. It's normal to feel hungry as well. And, you know, if you know, okay, I'm going to be eating in like 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, I can definitely wait. But if you feel absolutely starving, there's no point in trying to get the willpower not to eat, because you're only eating in like, I don't know, 2-3 more hours, depending on your time schedule and when you plan to eat and everything. So there's also that to take into consideration. I wasn't hungry often, except after my workout. So I planned, I would eat at 9:30 and work out at 11, and then I would eat like right after it would be lunchtime, so that worked for me. So that's also learning when do you feel hungrier and how can you move your schedule and your eating times, your meals around that like time when you're feeling hungrier, if that makes sense. That was a long video, I think, but that was pretty much it for today. I really hope it was helpful. Remember that it's better to anticipate hunger than to try to like push through it, because you are more likely to not be able to push through it. If you're someone who's interested in losing 35+ pounds, just like I did, and just like all of my clients are doing right now, highly suggest you apply for one-on-one coaching below. I would love to help you out. I've done it with clients, so why not you? You know, without starving yourself, spending hours on the treadmill, or cooking, without saying goodbye to your favorite food, and of course, without gaining the weight back. And if you do everything I said, if you follow the plan and you don't see the results that you want, I refund you in full, because this is how confident I am in my method. And yeah, as I said, that was pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.